Hi, everyone. You know what I love about this community? The patience, the quiet strength, the way so many of you have been holding space for yourselves, even when it felt like nothing was moving, even when it seemed like everyone else was getting their breakthroughs except you. I see that, I feel that, and I want you to know that every single moment you chose to keep going, to keep believing, to keep showing up for yourself, that wasn't wasted. None of it was wasted. So, whether you've been here from the beginning or you just found this, know that you're in the right place. Something's been building for you, and we're about to talk about it. Okay, Virgo, let's go. Wait. Just wait. Take a breath with me, because what I'm about to tell you, what's been building, what's been moving, what's been aligning while you've been doing everything in your power to just stay steady, it's here. Or it's so close you can almost touch it. And I need you to stay with me, because when this clicks, when you recognize what I'm talking about, when you see how everything's been leading to this exact moment, you're going to feel it everywhere. That relief, that validation, that deep exhale of finally something's working out. Stay present, because there's something you've been waiting for, something you've been hoping for, something you've been holding space for, even when it felt ridiculous to keep hoping. 2 years, maybe not exactly 2 years, maybe it's been 18 months, maybe it's been longer, maybe it's been that specific amount of time where you can actually track when this started, when you first felt the pull, when you first recognized that something was possible. And since then, you've been in this space of wondering if you were being patient or just naive, wondering if you were trusting the process or just avoiding reality, wondering if this thing you've been holding on to, if it was ever going to actually manifest. Have you been feeling this? This tension between hope and doubt? Let me know in the comments if this is resonating. Because here's what I keep picking up on. You didn't just wait passively. That's not what these 2 years have been about. You've been working, you've been growing, you've been becoming someone different than who you were when this journey started. You've healed things you didn't even know needed healing. You've released patterns you didn't realize you were repeating. You've built a version of yourself that's stronger, clearer, more aligned than the version that first started hoping for this. And that work, that transformation, it wasn't just filler time. It wasn't just the universe making you wait for no reason. It was preparation. Preparation for what you've been waiting for. Preparation to actually receive it, handle it, sustain it when it shows up. Because here's the thing, 2 years ago, if what you wanted had shown up exactly when you wanted it, you weren't ready. I know that might be hard to hear. I know part of you might want to argue with that, but think about who you were then. Think about what you believed about yourself, what you were willing to accept, what you thought you deserved. And compare that to who you are now. You're not the same person. You don't move the same. You don't think the same. You don't tolerate the same things. You've evolved, and that evolution, it's exactly what needed to happen for what you've been waiting for to actually work. Does this feel true? Drop a comment if you're recognizing this growth in yourself, because what I keep sensing is you're right at the edge, right at that point where waiting transforms into receiving, where hope transforms into reality, where all the patience, all the faith, all the moments you chose to keep believing, they're about to pay off. And I'm not saying this to hype you up. I'm not saying this to create false hope or unrealistic expectations. I'm saying this because the energy around you right now, it's different. It's shifting from potential to manifestation, from possibility to probability, from maybe someday to, oh, this is actually happening. And here's what you need to understand about this moment. When something you've been waiting for this long finally starts to materialize, it doesn't always look the way you imagined. It doesn't always arrive wrapped in the exact package you were expecting. Sometimes it comes sideways. Sometimes it comes through a door you weren't watching. Sometimes it shows up in a form that makes you question if it's really the thing you were waiting for. But it's just evolved. Just like you have, because what you wanted 2 years ago and what you're actually ready for now, those might be slightly different things. Not in essence, not in the core of what you were hoping for, but in how it shows up, in what it requires of you, in how it fits into the life you've built while you were waiting. And that's okay. That's actually perfect. Because you're not trying to fit something into an old version of your life anymore. You're receiving something into the life you've created through all this growth, all this patience, all this transformation. Have you been noticing signs that things are shifting? Let me know in the comments, because here's what I keep picking up on. There have been signs, small things, subtle shifts, things that could easily be dismissed as coincidence if you weren't paying attention. But you are paying attention. You've been paying attention this whole time, and you've noticed how certain blocks that felt permanent are starting to dissolve. You've noticed how doors that were closed are starting to crack open. You've noticed how energy that felt stuck is starting to move. And at first, you might have been afraid to acknowledge it, afraid to let yourself believe that maybe, finally, things were actually shifting. Because you've had false starts before. You've had moments where it seemed like things were moving only to have everything stall out again. And you don't want to get your hopes up just to be disappointed again. I get that. That's valid. But this time, it's different. This time, the movement isn't just external circumstances shifting randomly. This time, the movement is happening because you've become someone who's ready to receive it. You've done the internal work that creates the space for external change. You've built the foundation that can actually support what you've been waiting for. And that changes everything. Does this resonate with what you've been experiencing? Comment below and let me know, because I want to talk about what happens now that you're at this edge. Now that things are starting to move, now that what you've been waiting for is closer than it's ever been. What happens now is you stay steady. I know that might sound anticlimactic. I know you might want me to say, now you celebrate, or now you go all in, or now everything becomes easy. But that's not how this works. What happens now is you continue doing exactly what got you here. You continue trusting yourself. You continue showing up. You continue staying grounded in your own worth regardless of what's happening externally. Because here's the thing about receiving what you've been waiting for. It's a test, not a malicious test, not the universe trying to trick you, but a test of whether you've really integrated the lessons of these 2 years, a test of whether you can receive without losing yourself, whether you can be excited without becoming desperate, whether you can hope without becoming attached to one specific outcome. And you've been preparing for this test the whole time. Every moment you chose yourself over waiting for external validation. That was practice. Every moment you stayed grounded, even when nothing seemed to be moving. That was preparation. Every moment you trusted that you were exactly where you needed to be, even when it felt like you were falling behind. That was building the strength you need for this moment. So don't abandon that now. Don't let the proximity of what you've been waiting for make you forget everything you've learned. Stay centered, stay clear, stay connected to your own worth. Because what you've been waiting for, it's not here to complete you. It's here to complement the completeness you've already built. Have you been staying grounded even as things start to shift? Let me know in the comments. Because here's what else I'm sensing about this specific moment. There's going to be a temptation to rush, a temptation to force things to move faster now that you can see movement happening, a temptation to grab onto what's emerging and try to control exactly how it unfolds. Resist that, because the same patience that got you through 2 years of waiting, you still need it now. Maybe even more now than before, because before, when nothing was moving, patience was just about staying steady. But now, when things are actually shifting, patience is about trusting the timing even when you can see what you want right in front of you. It's about letting things unfold naturally instead of trying to force them into the exact shape you imagined. It's about staying present with what is instead of jumping ahead to what could be. And that's harder than it sounds, especially after waiting this long, especially when you can finally see the thing you've been hoping for starting to materialize. But this is where your growth really shows. This is where all the work you've done becomes visible in your ability to stay steady, to stay grounded, to receive without grasping. Does this make sense? Drop a comment if this is landing, because I keep seeing this energy around you. It's like you're standing at the threshold. You can see what's on the other side. You can feel how close it is, but you're not quite there yet. And this in-between space, this almost but not quite yet space, it's the most important part, because this is where you prove to yourself that you've really changed, that you're not the person who would have grabbed onto this desperately 2 years ago, that you're not the person who would have forced it, manipulated it, tried to control every detail of how it unfolds. You're someone different now. Someone who can hold space for something beautiful without needing to control it. Someone who can be excited without being desperate. Someone who can receive without losing themselves in what they're receiving. And that person, that's who you've been becoming these past 2 years. That's who you needed to become to actually sustain what you've been waiting for. Have you been recognizing this shift in yourself? Let me know in the comments, because here's what I want you to really hear. This moment, this shift that's happening, this thing you've been waiting for that's finally starting to move, it's not the end of your journey. It's not the point where everything becomes perfect and you never have to grow or struggle again. It's a milestone. It's a validation. It's a beautiful moment of receiving, but it's also a beginning, the beginning of learning how to sustain what you've received, the beginning of integrating this new reality into your life, the beginning of discovering what comes after you get what you've been waiting for, and that's its own journey. But here's the beautiful thing. You're ready for it. All the patience you've built, all the trust you've developed, all the groundedness you've cultivated, That's not just for the waiting period. That's for everything that comes after too. So when this thing you've been waiting for shows up, and it is showing up, don't just celebrate and then wonder, now what? Recognize it as the next chapter, the next phase, the next opportunity to practice everything you've learned, and trust that just like you navigated these 2 years of waiting, you can navigate whatever comes next. Does this feel aligned with where you are? Comment below and tell me what's shifting for you, because I'm genuinely excited for you, not in a I'm a stranger on the internet hyping you up kind of way, but in a real, sincere recognition of what it takes to wait for something this long without giving up, without becoming bitter, without losing faith in yourself. That takes strength most people don't have. And you did it. You're doing it. And now you get to see why it mattered. You get to see why the timing had to be what it was, why the wait was necessary, why everything had to unfold exactly the way it did. Not because there's some grand cosmic plan that required you to suffer, but because you needed to become who you are now to receive what's coming. And who you are now, you're incredible. You're grounded, you're clear, you're strong in ways you weren't 2 years ago. And what you've been waiting for, and it's finally matching that energy. So get ready, not in a